Hey, you guys are here. Welcome to the top 13 cartoon Halloween specials. I'm Legged Pony, and joining me here is Oblivion317.
Hello everyone, I'm Oblivion317 and happy Halloween! I hope you're prepared for the holiday as much as we are. However, we like to take a different approach in celebrating the holiday, whether it be Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or even Halloween.
That's right, and while some may choose to spend this time trick-or-treating, scaring their neighbors, or going to a party from dusk to dawn, we on the other hand like to take this time to look at all the classic cartoon Halloween specials and see how our favorite characters celebrate the holiday. Now keep in mind this list is opinion-based, so beware if one of your favorite Halloween specials isn't on the list. And just to let you all know, there won't be any Treehouse of Horror specials from The Simpsons on this list, mainly because there were too many to choose from and didn't really know which one would better fit on the list. However, you guys can check out FamiliarFaces top picks from The Simpsons in the description below. And with that said, let's get started at the top 13 cartoon Halloween specials and cue the theme song.
Number 13, A Pinkie and the Brain Halloween.
So how do you make something like Pinkie and the Brain scary? Well, a deal with the devil's usually a good place to start.
In A Pinkie and the Brain Halloween special, we see Brain trying to take over the world with mind-controlling jack-o'-lanterns. But after another failed attempt, they get an unexpected visit by Mr. Itch, the devil himself, who offers the Brain a chance to take over the world in exchange for his soul.
Mr. Itch? How could someone with a name like that possibly be the devil? Holy snarf!
However, Brain declines from his offer, but Pinkie decides to offer up his own soul in exchange for Brain to rule the world, as well as receiving a Radish Rose's who's it? I don't know. It's Pinkie, for goodness sakes.
So the Brain is now king of the world and he's happy, right?
Of course!
Well, no, that'll be too easy. Instead, he becomes lonely without Pinkie and goes to get him back from the realms of Hades, which happens to be underneath the DMV. Huh. No surprise there. And after waiting in line after line, he finally meets up with Pinkie, but can only get him back if he wins him back in a challenge of rhythmic gymnastics. So, how is this going to turn out, you may ask? Well, the devil cheats, Pinkie finds a loophole, they get out of there in time before they're killed, and everything goes back to the way it was again. This special might not be the ideal one to watch during Halloween, but if you guys like these characters, if you like the funny situations they get in, along with a heartwarming story, then Pinkie and the Brain's Halloween special is the Halloween special for you.
Not only is the humor from Pinkie and the Brain here, but also all the heart from the show as well. Seeing Pinkie reveal that he is willing to sell his soul for Brain to rule the world, and finding a loophole to get out of the deal, not only reveals how smart Pinkie can be at times, but also how much both Pinkie and the Brain really need each other.
They're Pinkie and the Brain, Narf, Sword, Trust, Point.
Number 12.
Though I know I should be wary, still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly hauntings we turn loose. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
That's right, everyone! Beetlejuice Laugh of the Party made it on this list, and this special features plenty of well-animated visuals, as well as the same psychedelic humor we'd expect from Beetlejuice during Halloween.
Halloween!
Not to mention some good character moments between the titular character and Lydia, whose on and off again relationship has always been one of the show's personal highlights for me.
I still question what happened between the time frame of the movie and Beetlejuice the series, between Lydia and Beetlejuice's friendship. But even though we got a more toned down version of Beetlejuice in the series, they still managed to keep his troublesome behavior, as well as his ghoulish puns, especially when Halloween comes to town.
So what the hell are they gonna do for a Halloween episode? Have a freaking Halloween party, that's what!
That's right, everyone. This episode is a Halloween bash where Claire and Lydia are hosting their own Halloween party. But Lydia doesn't know the first thing about parties, so who better to assist her than the ghost with the most, Mr. Beetleman? And you do not need to be a fortune teller to know how this is gonna turn out.
So Beetlejuice goes to the netherworld to get some supplies for the party, while Lydia invites her friends, as well as Claire, to her own Halloween bash. And Beetlejuice soon arrives with more guests with the help of the party people in a can. But sadly, he forgot to read the warning not to use it during a full moon, which then causes the monsters to grow and rampage through the town.
So they finally round them all up and the night is saved until Beetlejuice flushes them all down the toilet and now has to capture them again. So what makes this episode worth putting on the list is the energetic and gross nature of the character Beetlejuice. Even though we got a more watered down version of this guy from his movie, Beetlejuice still manages to be one of those classic adventures to watch around Halloween. Especially if it means kids can start watching this guy without being too freaked out by his gross out nature. The next one gives a good shout out to a bunch of old Halloween classics as it parodies movies and stories as well as adding in a bunch of comedic routines that these characters are well known for. So let's take a look at it. Number 11. Tiny Toons Night Ghoulery. Tiny Toons Adventure was one of those creative and funny shows during the early 90s that a bunch of us remember while growing up. But aside from their usual comedy routine and slapstick humor, they also had an hour-long Halloween special called Tiny Toons Night Ghoulery. The title alone tells you that this special will combine the same humor from the show with dark tones and dramatic pacing from classic Halloween movies such as The Telltale Heart, Steven Spielberg's Duel, and Abbott and Costello's Hold That Ghost.
I personally enjoyed this special more back when I was a kid because, at the time, I wasn't allowed by my parents to see many of the movies or shows this special spoofed until I was the ripe old age of 7. It allowed kids to be introduced to the more adult Halloween specials by giving them a comedic twist while staying true to the original source material.
The show is really well known for its short cartoons within the episode itself, and the top 3 out of this special that I like the most are The Telltale Vacuum, where Plucky tries to convey to the audience about his sanity while describing the murder he committed on Hampton's vacuum cleaner, Hold That Dog, which actually seems like a darker tone version of Hold That Goes, but actually manages to add a bit of humor in there as well, and lastly, A Gremlin on a Wing. Okay, now you know you're doing a good job when you manage to turn a scene like this.
Oh my god!
Into a kid-friendly scene like this.
Oh, thank god, that was too scary.
Oh, the hell with it. It's Halloween, so let's play that scene again.
God damn it, Red Cord, knock it off!
Hey, trick or treat, man.
All in all, I would say this is definitely a special worth watching again for its comedy, its characters, and its parodies of a wide collection of great Halloween classics. Hell, even the opening theme song in this special is a parody of Nightmare Before Christmas. Tiny Toon Adventures, where everything scary can be rated G. Number 10. A Disney Halloween Treat. This special is often forgotten because it's just a compilation of some of Disney's darkest materials such as Fantasia, Sleeping Beauty, and Pluto's Judgment Day. But this special proves an interesting point about Disney that people often seem to forget. No matter what story you're telling, there needs to be an element of darkness in it. Otherwise, you're just aiming for the kids. And as Disney himself once said, you're dead if you just aim for the kids.
A Disney Halloween Treat was a 90-minute televised special that was hosted by the Magic Mirror and included a bunch of segments from Disney's past, as well as a good insight into the holiday itself. With movies like Fantasia, Snow White, and Sleepy Hollow, along with some short Disney cartoons all combined into one special, how could fewer people each year not remember this Halloween special? Well, it's mainly because this special came out around 1982, and many of us don't remember seeing this for the first time, and the special never received a DVD release, which only led the VHS version to be horrifically outdated as newer developments in cinema continued, and the DVD started to replace the VHS tapes.
Even though the quality of the video isn't all that great, it still manages to add that sort of dark ambience that I believe a lot of cartoon specials these days are missing. While this special has some of Disney's dark material, the next has a more realistic setting to it as well as a great Halloween atmosphere, especially since the monsters are real this time.
Number 9. Jimmy Neutron, Nightmare in Retroville. The special actually managed to beat the Fairly Odd Parents Halloween special by a long shot, because even though both revolve around the same premise of a real and scary Halloween, this special managed to create a better dark environment along with a realistic dilemma when a science experiment goes horribly wrong and actually creates real living and bloodthirsty monsters.
Now, Jimmy Neutron's always been one of those more polarizing cartoons. You're either going to really like it for its characters and creativity, or dismiss it for its writing and its budget. One thing that many people can agree on, however, is that this special in particular highlights many of the show's strong points.
After turning his friends into monsters in the hopes of getting more candy, Jimmy realizes that his friends are slowly turning into monsters at the genetic level. Sheen and Libby are becoming more and more like werewolves, Carl and Cindy are becoming natural vampires, and his dad was turned into a brain-dead Frankenstein monster. So, when you think about it, Jimmy's dad basically became more of himself.
Not only are we treated to a great homage to the original movie monsters, Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein, we are also treated to it in a way where the full stories of these monsters were explored. Some shows have tried to do this, but they only tackled the weaknesses and strengths of the monsters, not the mythology surrounding them, which is on full display in this special.
And just like with Tiny Toons, it does a great job of introducing these characters to a younger audience. Because frankly, if I saw the films that this episode parodies first, I probably would have reacted like this.
Okay, man, you made your point.
Sucks, doesn't it?
All in all, it's a great setup with great jokes, great homages, and all the creativity that Jimmy Neutron has in that overly large head of his. Not really much else to say, really. Nah, screw it. One more time.
Okay, man, are you quite finished there?
I'd say so.
You can tell the writers had a lot of fun with this special by the amount of effort they put into the characters, poking just the right amount of fun at the weaknesses of the monsters, as well as their constant switch in personalities.
Libby, did you do something to your hair? No. Are you using teeth whitener?
The next one on this list takes an interesting look at an old Halloween legend involving a ton of tricks and a deal with death himself.
Number 8. Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween.
Now, many people often forget the origins of both Halloween or the origins of certain Halloween traditions. But when you combine the antics of Billy and Mandy with the legend of Stingy Jack, you better brace yourself for a night of insanity.
The story goes something like this. Billy, Mandy, and Grim begin trick-or-treating, and Grim tells a story about a prankster named Jack.
The Pumpkin King.
I wish, but no. I'm talking about Jack-O-Lantern, voiced by Wayne Knight, who escaped death but ended up losing his head in the process, and is the reason why people do tricks on Halloween. The game then splits up, and Billy lost the sight to Jack.
The Pumpkin King.
Again, not that Jack. A portal is then opened, and all hell breaks loose.
On top of being treated to a great introduction to the history of Halloween, we are introduced to it by the main man himself, who's voiced by a comedic legend. Not only does it fit the Billy and Mandy formula to a T, it goes above and beyond with a kaleidoscope of visuals and quite an intense soundtrack throughout the special. Not a bad way to introduce Halloween lore if I do say so myself.
I agree with that, but what I like the most out of this special is the creativity and the sheer amount of energy put into the pumpkins rampaging through the city, as well as the performance of the voice actors who make this episode more chaotic. This special was so great it even got its own video game on the Cartoon Network website called Harem Scarem. It's actually a fun game and I highly recommend you guys trying it out. It features a lot of the pumpkins you saw in the show, as well as Jack-O-Lantern himself. With my final thoughts about this special, the episode managed to maintain its usual demented antics as well as keeping the audience entertained throughout every scene of the episode, but at the same time, the old Halloween legend of Stingy Jack seems to get lost among all the chaos in this special, and while people remember the chaos, they'll easily forget the legend the special was about. So what are your final thoughts about this one, Oblivion?
I've always said that if you're going to teach a child audience some history, you better make it entertaining.
Billy and Mandy was an entertaining concept to begin with, and this episode went above and beyond their typical work, and gave a great lesson on the origins of Halloween.
I agree, and the next one on our list takes an unusual approach to the holiday by having our main character not too familiar with Halloween, and having some images in there that you might not have expected to be in a kids show.
Number 7. Invader Zim Halloween Spectacular Spooky Doom.
Invader Zim was one of those shows that after you were done watching one episode, you thought to yourself, what the hell did I just watch? I mean, this show is somewhere on the lines of gruesome and, oh my god, how the hell can they show that in a kid show? Well, we have Jhonen and Vasquez to thank for this series, and keep in mind, this is the guy who is known for his comics and stories of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, so just imagine the images you might see during Zim's first Halloween.
I'm never gonna get those images out of my head anytime soon.
In this episode, we see the school kids getting ready for Halloween while Zim, unfamiliar with the holiday, is convinced that all the kids are candy-crazed monsters out to feed upon his alien flesh. And then Dib suddenly enters the classroom with a dilemma of his own. He begins to see the visions from another dimension after using his father's equipment and starts to fade away into the other dimension, but only for a short time.
This is actually where it gets interesting, as we get the full extent of the creator's imagination of all the variety of monsters, which happen to be part of Dib's imagination as well.
Maybe I am crazy.
Without anyone else to turn to, he makes his way down to Zim's house. But Zim refuses to help and actually gets teleported with Dim to the parallel realm.
You sickening, troublesome human!
So after Dib is captured, Zim has to go rescue him as well as figure out a way to open the portal in Dib's head in order to get back to Earth.
Oh, come on!
Both make it home, but not without one of the monsters following them.
That's so disgusting. Look at the head on that one!
So that was Invader Zim, everyone, and compared to the other specials on this list, this one had the most twisted but creative design in both characters and the atmosphere, which is something that Jhonen is really well known for. The visuals in this special are either amazing or just downright insane, even for a kid show back in the early 2000s. But when it comes to Halloween, Jhonen knows how to make our skins crawl and our mind traumatized. The special was entertaining to watch while I still had some sanity left. Our next one shows that even with these stories of scary monsters and ghouls out on Halloween, it's always fun to have a nice scare every once in a while. Number 6. My Little Pony Lunar Eclipse. For all those MRP fans out there, you might remember this special as the long-awaited turn of Princess Luna, as well as an opportunity to further develop this character ever since her first appearance in Season 1. When I saw this special for the first time, I was blown away by the amount of details in the designs of the scenery and the costumes the ponies were wearing, as well as the grand entrance of Princess Luna and the storytelling by Zecora. A show like My Little Pony getting its own Halloween special was a great way to take the lessons from the show and use them to better enhance your holiday experience, whether it's your first, second, or even seventh Halloween before you grow out of it completely.
Pinkie Pie, aren't you a little old for this? Too old for free candy? Never!
We see the citizens of Ponyville celebrating their version of Halloween called Nightmare Night, where everyone dresses up in costumes to hide from Nightmare Moon while collecting candy as offerings in order to be safe from being eaten. But right after the frightening tour with Zecora, we get the grand entrance of Princess Luna, who is met with mixed results due to her previous appearance in Ponyville.
From this moment forth, the night will last forever!
This actually doesn't make that much sense when you think about it, because they were all there when she was brought into Ponyville after the evil was destroyed in her, and they all loved and appraised her. So what, was everyone just not paying attention that day or something?
What?
Moving right along, Twilight decides to help Luna fit in more by taking her to Fluttershy and Applejack for advice. And just when it all seems to be going well for the princess, Pinkie Pie shows up with all the children and starts screaming, which then drives Luna to become angered at their accusations and leads to her to declare Nightmare Night officially cancelled forever.
Decree that Nightmare Night shall be cancelled forever!
Twilight then tries to talk to Pinkie by luring her into an alley with the James Woods trap from Family Guy.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
After Pinkie Pie explains that she was just trying to have fun by being scared, Twilight then has an idea to have Luna actually try and scare the kids, and to her surprise, the kids were actually playing along with Pinkie Pie and weren't actually scared of Luna. This then causes Luna to lift the ban on Nightmare Night, and Luna is now one of the most likable characters in the show.
So, what are your final thoughts about this one?
What I personally think makes this special stand out from all the others on this list is how you can not only use its message during Halloween, where some people can't handle scares as easily as others,
but it can also be used outside the holiday. If someone you know is having trouble fitting in, you should offer your friendship to them, and you might just find out that you have many things in common with them.
To me, the lesson at the end of this episode was my favorite part, because it shows just how much we as an audience can relate to someone if given a character that we can sympathize with, because all of Luna's actions throughout the whole episode seem understandable. So if you thought colorful ponies celebrating Halloween was fun, our next one features a ghost that tries to make this Halloween as scary as possible with the help of some supernatural forces.
Number 5. Danny Phantom, Fright Night.
Now, considering how Danny Phantom was already a show about ghosts, the expectations were pretty high for its Halloween special. How did they live up to that hype? This.
The episode begins with Danny and Dash being pitted against each other over who can make the better haunted house attraction. Seeing as how the two are already at odds with each other, they decide to make a bet on the outcome.
And when you taste defeat, you have to eat beef!
Okay, my appetite is gone now. Thanks for that image. Danny soon realizes that he is severely outclassed against Dash, which is when Sam comes in with the legends of the Fright Night, the spirit of Halloween. Okay, I'm just gonna say this now. That is my favorite ghost out of the entire series, because look at him. He's got that flaming hair, or purple cape. He's also got medieval armor, and a badass name for a blade called the Soul Shredder. This guy is a total badass! Danny then ventures into the ghost zone to retrieve the sword. Big mistake, by the way. The Fright Night is free, and Danny takes the sword back to the human world, but also takes the Fright Night along with him.
After returning to the human world, the Fright Night begins to rain hell upon Amity Park, which, sad to say, has become the norm for this town.
The episode had to go above and beyond the standard the show had already established. Thankfully, the animation team for the show delivers, as the different monsters and skills are some of the best pieces of the show's animation. Keep in mind, this was also from the first season of the show, which actually makes this animation all the more spectacular when you think about it.
While many would argue that Fright Night is not the best episode of the show, it was still considered one of the show's best, as it was always shown during Nickelodeon's Halloween lineup for 4 years straight. Not bad for a show that has this in it.
Bon appetite, whitey, loser!
So with that said, our next one doesn't need remarkable animation or a heartwarming story. All it needs is memorable characters and a simple and not over-the-top storyline. Number 4. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Now how can you go wrong with this episode? I mean, it's the ideal episode that everyone has seen or should see, because if you were a kid, trick-or-treating for candy was your favorite part about Halloween, unless your father was Christopher Lee as a dentist.
All this chocolate.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep these close by just in case.
This special also consists of 2 other side plots involving Linus's desire to meet the Great Pumpkin and Snoopy's roleplay as the Red Baron. Linus believes that the Great Pumpkin brings presents to all the good boys and girls during Halloween.
Good grief.
Which raises a lot of questions about this, such as, where the hell did he hear a story like this? Did his parents tell him? Did he just make it up? We'll never know! Anyways, Everyone except Sally thinks he's crazy and starts to head out in their costumes to go trick-or-treating.
Not exactly. Snoopy decides to climb on his doghouse and pretends to be shooting the Red Baron. Now, I was never interested in these Snoopy shorts because they just weren't as interesting as the main plot to me. So now we see all the kids at a Halloween party and Charlie Brown continues to be the butt of the jokes.
Thank you, Charlie Brown. You were a perfect model.
Next we get the grand entrance of the Great Pumpkin, only to have it be Snoopy roaming around through the pumpkin patch. And so to this day, we still have no idea what the Great Pumpkin looks like.
Well, I wouldn't say that. You haven't seen the robot chicken version of the Great Pumpkin, have you?
No, why?
Well, check this out.
Damn. Thank goodness they didn't go with that route for this special.
What I've always admired about this special is how laid back it is. It's not particularly focused on the 3-act plot structure and puts the different experiences of the characters first. We see this with Charlie Brown's trick-or-treating, Snoopy's imaginary fight against the Red Baron, and Linus's own belief in the Great Pumpkin. And that's what makes this special relevant this very day. It makes Halloween seem more like an experience, which it is, rather than just a story that needs to adhere to a single pattern.
For me, I've always admired the simple but effective story structure that these Charlie Brown specials are known for. They don't focus on complicated plots or great animation. They're traditional, simple, and most of all, memorable to almost anyone. Our next one on the list takes an interesting look at trick-or-treating, as well as an unexpected visit from someone that can give No Face and Slender Man a run for their money. Number 3. Gravity Falls Summerween. You've ever noticed those Halloween candies at the bottom of the bowl that no one seems to want because of unfamiliar brand names or different tastes? Well, Gravity Falls manages to turn something unnoticeable into something amazing.
In this special, we are treated to a holiday called Summerween, where all the hallmarks of Halloween take place during the summer.
No! God, please, no! No!
While Dipper and Maple prepare for the night, Wendy, a teenager that Dipper has a crush on, casually states that Halloween is for kids.
Shut up, Robbie. Of course he's not going trick-or-treating.
No, yeah, trick-or-treating is for babies.
While Dipper decides to give up trick-or-treating, he gets an unexpected visit by the Summerween trickster.
Knock, knock.
He's here to warn Dipper and his friends that if they do not offer him 500 pieces of candy by the end of the night, he will eat them for lacking the holiday spirit.
While Dipper's whole outlook on the night changes, we also get a funny side story with Dipper and Maple's Grunkle Stan, as Stan tries to scare all the kids who stop by the shack while trick-or-treating. Stan also comes to realization that what was scary back then in the days has no effect whatsoever on modern children nowadays.
Now, Gravity Falls is a very recent show, more so than Friendship is Magic. So how did this episode get so high up? Well, for starters, we have a very believable story arc with Dipper, as he comes to grips with growing up with Summerween. Seeing as how one of the show's main themes is growing up, this works particularly well, especially when Dipper's motivation behind his change is taken into account.
On top of Dipper's relatable dilemma, we also get some great social commentary from Stan. Over the past few years, it's become quite apparent that what used to be the iconic images for Halloween are noticeably tame by today's standards. This ranges from the modern adult costumes available to the most intense scares that we see more and more often these days.
Speaking of which...
Return the slab, or suffer my curse.
You know, Oblivion, that might have worked back in the day, but now it's just tacky, uninteresting, and frankly not that scary.
Then what the hell is?
Oh, come closer and watch this clip. You'll find out.
What? I don't see anything. It's just a...
Number 2. Ed, Edd and Eddy's Boo Ha Ha. Eddy and Eddy was my favorite show on Cartoon Network back then, and still remains to this day as Cartoon Network's longest original running program. And when it comes to making a Halloween special, the creator of the show went all out with the visuals and designs of the scenery. So let's dive into this special and see why it got the number 2 spot on the list. We see Eddy coming out from his latest detention with big news that will make their Halloween a night to remember, and this is where we get the first glimpse of the fantastic effects that will continue on throughout this episode.
So Double D and Eddy make their way down to Ed's place, where they find that their friend is watching a marathon of classic horror movies that will make the angry video game nerd jealous. Eddy informs the others about a map given to him by his brother about a neighborhood called Spookyville, where the residents hand out buckets of candy to trick-or-treaters. So throughout the whole episode, the Eds are on a journey to find Spookiesville. However, Ed starts to have hallucinations and envisions everyone they come across as real monsters, and begins to pulverize the living daylights out of them.
Wow, I thought Div had a twisted mind. So the Eds travel far and wide in search of Spookyville, only to find out that the map leads them back where they started, all thanks to Eddy's brother.
Is my brother a jerk or what?
Don't worry, they get him back in the movie.
Uncle.
Now for our final thoughts about this. Like I said, the visuals are just fantastic, but what I like about this special is how the film effects play sort of a look back at all the classic horror movies of cinema. You can tell the animators had a lot of fun creating these monsters by the amount of details and designs and atmosphere they bring whenever they come on screen. Unlike Tiny Toons and Jimmy Neutron's Halloween, the Eds managed to have more creativity in their designs, as well as a better ambience to their episodes that makes these characters more three-dimensional. And how about you, Oblivion?
Well, Ed and Eddy has always used their unique animation style to their advantage, and this episode is no exception. On top of a great storyline and some legitimately creepy moments to complement it, it's more than worthy of the number 2 spot.
And with that said, we now move into the number 1 cartoon Halloween special on this list.
You've waited long enough, and now we present to you the number 1 cartoon Halloween special. Cue the theme music!
Number 1, Arnold's Halloween.
That's right, Hey Arnold's Halloween was the best Halloween special we've seen, and to this day, I still consider it my favorite, and just finding this special was hard enough. So what actually makes this Halloween special the best? Well, let's take a look at it and find out.
So in this Halloween special, we see Arnold and Gerald planning to pull off the biggest Halloween prank ever. Similar to the infamous Orson Welles' War of the Worlds radio broadcast conducted in 1938. And with the help of Helga and the other neighborhood kids dressed up as aliens, the plan could actually turn out to be one of the best Halloween pranks ever. Both Arnold and Gerald put on a great show that not only convinces Grandpa and the Halloween guests of an actual alien invasion, but manages to get the attention of a nearby TV crew as well. The news then gets broadcasted to the whole city, and then all pandemonium breaks loose.
The performance that Arnold and Gerald put on was really convincing, from Arnold being a professional Foley artist to actually setting up the water tower disguised as the mothership.
And Helga and the other kids dressed up as aliens and being mistaken for real aliens was just the funniest scene out of the whole special.
A show like Hey Arnold is well known for their over-the-top events as well as urban legends such as the Headless Cabbie, the Ghost Bride, or Haunted Train Ride. In my opinion, the most important part for any Halloween is the atmosphere the cartoon provides when telling a story. This is why we tell scary stories at nights around campfires. The atmosphere matters just as much as the story you're telling, and Hey Arnold manages to use every moment of it to their advantage.
Another thing that works to this special's advantage, as mentioned earlier, is how they are able to play off the same fear that disrupted the country in 1938 during the Orson Welles' War of the Worlds radio play. With the layering of the scares, along with the right amount of realism, Arnold was able to scare the people of his world in the same way that people from ours were back in 1938, and how we would be now. This gives the special a particular form of relevance that none of the other specials on this list have at all.
Well, that was Hey Arnold's Halloween special. I highly recommend you see that. And with that said, that was the top 13 cartoon Halloween specials. I'm Redcord.
And I'm Oblivion317, and here's hoping you have a fantastic Halloween.